Welcome back to Turner Tools, EdTech tips and tricks to help you work smarter, not harder. Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to share with you how I did that header that so many of you have been curious about. So the first thing that I did is that I changed the size of my canvas in Google Slides. I really like this custom cover images PNG that Vincent created. It helps me to remember what size I need to do for what part of the internet I'm trying to create a header for. So this is really great. I will post this as a link at the bottom of the video just for your reference. So I just did the 1920 by 1080 banner. And I did that by going to File, Page Setup, changing this drop down to Custom, then changing this drop down to Pixels, and then I did 1920 by 1080. This is a really good resolution for banners. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color for my background. And it can be in my branding or whatever it is that my color scheme is for my website. So I think I'm just going to go with just a kind of a light blue. My favorite color is blue, so I tend to go to blues. I'm going to choose Done. And now I just want to give it a little bit of personality. And I do that through shapes. And I really could do this with any repeating shape. I tend to just use the rectangle. I click and drag, and I just make sure that it's over my canvas on both sides. I'm then going to get rid of the border color. I'm going to change that to transparent. And so now you can see that there are no lines around this shape. Now I'm just going to duplicate it, and to do that, I could right click on it and copy and paste it. But I like the keyboard shortcut Control D. That gives me a duplication. And then I just kind of put it along here. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it's along this side, just giving myself a little bit of room. And then I'm going to click and drag and highlight all of them. And I'm then going to do Control D again, so that duplicates 4 of them. It just speeds up the process so that I can cover this entire page with this shape. Now I could even get a little fancy. Once I finish this up, I will show you. I could get a little bit fancy and then make some of these a little bit thinner. And I could have done this to begin with, but I kind of just was inspired. I just undid there because I didn't like where I moved that one. So I could do that. And maybe I want to do that for the rest of them. So I'm going to click and drag over all of my boxes and get rid of them. And maybe I like these two. And then I'm just going to do the same thing. And I have a little bit of a variation in size of my box. Now it's kind of hard for me to see my entire box, so I'm actually going to go up here and I'm going to zoom out. Maybe not that much. Maybe 100%? Nope. Let's do, all right, that looks good. 50% lets me see a little bit more of this canvas so that I can more easily do my duplications. So I'm still doing Control D, just getting that across until I am done. And that might need just a little bit more. I can get rid of that one because it's outside of my box. Now, these are kind of a weird, space between them. So I want to change that, and I'm going to click and drag all the way over all of my boxes. And so what this does is it selects all of my boxes. I'm going to go to Arrange, Distribute horizontally. Now this is some magic. Are you ready? They're perfectly spaced. It's beautiful. I love it. You can also do this for distribution of vertical. Now you can't really see it much because I don't have a lot of variation vertically downwards, but horizontally this would really help me out. So now it's a little bit stark because we have the really gray color and then we have the blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the transparency of all of these shapes at the same time. Whoops, let's undo that. So I'm going to click and drag again over the entire area, and that highlights everything. I'm going to go to the fill color. I'm going to add a color, and I'm going to turn this transparency all the way down. The gray color is really fine because it's going to be so transparent. I find that the gray color works really well. And so now if I click off, you'll see that it's a very, very subtle design. Okay, so that's how I create a banner. Now we could do this with a different shape. So let's try it with a different shape. How about a star, a 5-pointed star, which you can find in the call out menu. If you hold down Shift and click, you can get a perfectly proportioned star. Now, if you don't hold down the Shift button, then you're gonna kind of get a random looking star. So let's try that out. I'm just going to kind of create my star however I want to, click and drag, and you'll notice that the star is not as consistently spaced around as when I use the Shift. Now when I have it selected, you'll notice that there's this little triangle. I can actually change how big or little, so now that's quite a different star, isn't it? But if I go out, it's going to give me a different look for my star. I'm going to do undo right now so I can go back to my traditional star. But anytime that there is that yellow kind of square looking thing on your shape, you can click and drag it to modify your shape. All right, so we're going to kind of create a design here, something a little bit different than we did for our first one. I'm going to again hit that Shift key and I'm going to make my star smaller. I'm going to duplicate it a couple of times. And I'm just going to kind of put it out along this page, kind of differing sizes as I go along the page. Now we are going to keep going until we are done. Let's go a little bit smaller. And finally, let's go just a little smaller. Okay, so now we have our stars, but they're really glaringly obvious that they're here. I want them to kind of fade into the background. So I'm going to click outside in the gray area and drag over the entire area so that I can select all of my stars. I can also move them at this point too, so maybe I just want them to go over just a little bit more and up a little bit. I can do that because I have all of them selected. Clicking and dragging them. I'm going to get rid of the outline around each star, so I'm going to set that as transparent. Then I'm going to go to the custom fill color by going to the plus, and I'm going to drag that down, the transparency down, just like we did for the first one. And now you'll notice that it's really subtle. You can play with that transparency until you're happy with the transparency that you get with the shape. But this really gives us a very different look with just a change of shape. So we could put our logo on top of this. We could do really whatever we want to as a banner. I really like doing banners this way. So here are two techniques that you can use to create a banner for any type of application, whether it's Google Keep, Google Forms, Google Sites, YouTube, Twitter, Google Classroom, Seesaw, Flipgrid, Wakelet, anything that works for you.
Thank you for tuning in to Turner Tools. Remember to like and subscribe. I hope you learned something new to help you make awesome happen. Have a fabulous day.